when you got Mace in your face hanging out, holding me up at the vestibule. Tom Crean's waiting. I wonder if their paths ever crossed. We'll ask Tom Crean, now joining us via the Connecticut Water Systems Hotline. Did you ever have any kind of, connection with or conversation with or knowledge of Glenn Mason, former University of Minnesota coach who now joins us? He's joined us for the last 15 to 18 years weekly during the football season.
No, I've never met him, but my father-in-law knew him. I was a fan of his, certainly,
yeah, right.
Especially when he was at Minnesota. But my father-in-law knew him when Glenn was, I can't remember the entire story, but Glenn was starting out. I think even I could have this way wrong, but I think at one point, Glenn didn't have a room one night. And
this is it. You're
unbelievable.
Yes, that's the story.
Unbelievable.
You're
it's
100% right. He ends up, they end up sharing not only a hotel room, but a bed. There was just one bed in it, and he didn't even know the guy.
Oh, I didn't remember that.
Yes,
I didn't remember that.
Yes, that's the main story.
I think Jack was coaching at Michigan then.
Correct.
I think he would have been my father-in-law would have been at Michigan. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's always been a Glenn Mason guy.
It started with a burger.
So, I always followed him.
Yeah, it started with a burger, right? They at whatever Howard Johnson's restaurant they were at, some hole in the wall restaurant, and then the next thing you know, they're sharing a bed. It's such a great story.
Well, Mace actually just left and whispered when he heard us talking about it. He's not here anymore, but he whispered to me, "Yeah, I slept with him in the bed." Like we all know, Glenn. Yeah, we all know.
And Tom, will you tell our audience who we are talking about here? Who your father-in-law we're talking about?
Oh yeah. My father-in-law is Jack Harbaugh, who coached for a very long time, head coach at Western Michigan, head coach at Western Kentucky. The final game he coached in 2002 at Western Kentucky, won the national championship, and was at Michigan 7 years, I think, but a lot of different places. I think Glenn would have been at Kent State when they met, if I remember the story correctly.
That sounds right, yeah.
And it's just or maybe something like that. I don't know. But my father-in-law has so many stories that's one of the reasons that my brother-in-law, John, who's in the news for other things right now, really wanted to build the Harbaugh Coaching Academy because the three kids, my wife, Joni, Jim, and John, and then all the grandkids have just totally been enthralled forever in the stories that are revisited from when the three of them were kids with their dad and mom, and then for all the grandkids. And so they really want that stuff all put together. There's been some book ideas and things of that nature. They have not come to fruition yet, and because you can't get everybody on the same page with all of that. But Jack has got incredible stories and incredible respect from a lot of people, and it's just amazing. I mean, you name a coach, and probably about 80, sometimes 90, but 80% of the time, he's going to have a personal story about the guy. So it's pretty good.
The biggest difference from a personality standpoint between Jim and John?
Jim's competitiveness is more outward. You see it coming. Mm-hmm. John's is a little more subdued.
Okay.
And calculated, but they're both incredibly competitive. Yeah. And I say this, I've said this for a long time, especially since we moved to Florida and my wife took up playing tennis. They don't have anything on her. I mean, she's at another level with the competitiveness. I mean, it's unbelievable. And she just needed an outlet, right? She needed like a sport that she could get into, but they're also competitive. It's incredible. But I would say that, and I would say that John, sometimes you see Jim coming, with a decision.
Sure.
A lot of times John may make the same decision, but you never saw it coming, right? It's just they're unique personalities, but I think that's why they're best friends, and they're incredible. I mean, the common theme with those three is not only the love for their immediate families, but how they've always cared so much about their mom and dad.
And
and it's just incredible to be a part of that.
And you are a part of it. And John, of course, becomes official today that he is going to be the next coach of the New York Giants. And I think we all assumed, he was the domino, right? I mean, that's what basically everybody's waiting for, because it had to be good to be John Harbaugh this week, man, because he can pretty much, I'm assuming, pretty much have almost any job that he wanted to. And that's why I thought maybe he'd play it out a little bit, but maybe he liked what he saw, or maybe he had certain ideas. You tell me, you might know more than I do, but I'm assuming.
Well, I know a lot.
Yeah, yes, you do. And I bet
I don't know a lot about all this.
Yeah.
I would say, here's what I would say about it. From Sunday night at about when they lost to the Steelers, from the time he got on the bus till the time he got on the plane and talking to him, and then through Monday and through Tuesday, and talking to him I got off the phone at 3:50 on a last Tuesday afternoon. Went to do a sound check for FanDuel Sports Network television, went to work out. I thought everything was good. He thought everything was good. And at 4:00, they came in and let him know that there'd been I'm just going to leave it at this, that he was going to be let go. So much went on in those 2 days.
Can imagine.
For him, I would just say this, that the best thing has been for him to have the attention. He's got a great agent in Brian Harlan, who's Kevin Harlan's brother.
Yes, I know him well.
And Bob Harlan's son. Phenomenal guy. And he did an incredible job. And I was on the phone a lot with him for a couple of days there, too. But I would just say the best thing that happened is from the time it got out that John had been let go and the teams that were calling Brian, and then how his Wednesday had gone. Because from 3:50 on Tuesday afternoon till about 7:30 on Wednesday night, all we had done is text. We hadn't talked. And my wife and I got a chance to talk for about an hour on Wednesday night. And I wasn't that, he wasn't in a bad place through any of this. He wasn't even in a bad place when things were hanging in the balance, on Monday and Tuesday. But he was in a really good place on Wednesday. And I think the fact that not only the people that had reached out to him and the people that he was talking to, but the fact that there was so much interest from football teams reaching out, that I think it really helps subdue it. So I just look at it that I have a guy that I love that's a family member that was going through an excruciating loss on Sunday night.
Yeah.
A lot of different, and I'm going to leave that to him because he hasn't spoken.
Sure.
And it's hard for me to sit back as his brother-in-law and see the press conferences and and see the statements and see the rumors. I've learned a lot about that business in the last week too, and sourcing and all that type of stuff. And I'm going to leave it to him to handle all that. But I'm just happy that he was able to go from a very low place to a very good place. And really it wasn't as low as most because, Dan, his faith, he uses his platform extremely well to profess his love for God and his faith. He uses it with his team, but it is so real, it's incredible. And there is no way I could have handled what he was dealing with for 3-4 days like he did. I mean, just couldn't. And I'd like to think that I've got strong faith too, but I couldn't have handled it like that. And it's just incredible to watch him. And what really, there's been some incredibly aggravating moments. But when that Ian Rappaport report came out about losing the locker room and players were that was so spoon-fed to him. And I don't know Ian and don't care to because that was such a joke. But the bottom line, I've been around that team for 18 years. I've got institutional knowledge of being around him and seeing him coach and not just on game day. And it's just amazing the level of care and respect his players have had for him because of what he's had for them. And there's no coach in the country that has everybody happy with them on a continual basis. It's just not possible. You're not doing your job if they are.
Was he shocked?
Bottom line is, was he shocked?
Yeah, was he shocked?
Are you asking me if he was shocked that he was let go?
Yes.
No, I don't think so. I think the timing of how it all happened maybe a little bit. No, I wouldn't say that. Yeah. I wouldn't say he was shocked. I think once it was on the table, he wasn't shocked.
Was he?
But there's so much that comes out that and this is the first time I've been asked to talk about it, so I want to be very careful what I say, and I hope you understand because it's his story.
Absolutely.
And I know that he didn't have any plans to talk until he actually took a job. Yep. So,
let me try this on you.
He'll take the high road.
What I'm always fascinated with, obviously, if he wanted to stay in coaching, he was going to get opportunities immediately. And then there's some coaches in his spot who say, you know what, I'll take a breath. I'll take one of those cushy TV gigs for a while of one sort or another. It doesn't have to be in the studio. It could be doing games. He could have that opportunity if he wanted to. So was there, do you think any thought, or is he the type who, no, this is me. This is my lifeblood. I'm right back. I'm getting right back on the bicycle.
Yeah, that he's had those were made known to him even before. I mean, there's been years. He did the Super Bowl when it was at NBC one time, And he did a great job. He was there for the entire Super Bowl day. And so, like, that spearheaded the fact that whenever he decided to go into TV,
yep,
it would be a no-brainer. And I think it was pretty clear around, and I'm not sure who Mike Tomlin's agent is, but obviously that had been brought up to him.
Sure.
And no question had been brought up to John. But, like, Dan, here's the message, like, without everything, here's, like, Sunday night. When I look at what John has gone through behind the scenes with that team, with the injuries, with the attitudes, with the losing 4 straight and everybody thinking it was over, and the way he created hope in that team, and they got healthier and they got better, and then they had a belief, and the whole thing, they're within, a few feet of going to the playoffs. He was at the top of his game. I mean, he's a young
sure.
63. Mm-hmm. He works out 6 days a week, if not 7 on game day. He might do something on game day. I think he squats over 500 pounds. They did a video. They tracked him in the weight room and did like a day in the life of John Harbaugh in the weight room. It was impressive. He's in great physical and mental condition. He loves coaching. He's on top of it. He didn't want to go to TV. And now there could be a day that he does that.
Sure.
But right now, like, he literally, and frankly, if he'd have said he wanted to go to TV, as long as he got the right job, right? Like, sure. There was no way you should settle. There was no way you should go in. He had criteria. He's had criteria for a long time in his mind that if he ever left, what would be important, and he hit it. I haven't talked to him. Last time I texted with him yesterday morning before he left for New York, so I haven't talked to him since. But, like, I knew what his criteria was, and the criteria, he wasn't going to take a job unless it hit the criteria because he knew he didn't have to.
Sure, that's
and
the
I
beauty
think
of it.
and this certainly wasn't making a decision about money, though the money is just ridiculously crazy. But he wasn't making a decision on that because he's made so much in his career. He was going to make a decision on where he could truly win and win big and be aligned in that. And he's got 18 years of institutional knowledge on how this goes too. And I'm his brother-in-law and love him to death, but he's got some great friends that help him through a lot of steps, and Andy Reid was a huge part of that for him through all those last few days. I mean, when this was all going on.
Mm-hmm. Now, that does have to help. It's fascinating to hear you talk about this stuff. I'm glad we were able to do that, and I do want to talk.
Well, I wish I could say more, but I just really don't want to because it's his story.
I get that,
and I get too angry personally, and it's not my place to do that.
No, I understand.
Yeah, I do. It's not my place to do it.
No, but you've given us some good insight, nevertheless, which we appreciate. And I do want to get to Wolves eventually, but I want to ask you one other story that has nothing to do with John and nothing to do really in this case with pro football. Story breaks today that the government has charged 20 individuals in a point shaving scheme that I think involves close to 40 college basketball players with 17 Division I teams. And some of these players have actually played with their teams, I think, as recently as the last week or two. So
yesterday.
Yesterday. Okay, there you go. Yeah. So is this the new business as usual? Do you just sort of have to accept it, given how close, the various sports have become with the gambling institutions? Is this totally unrelated to that? What do you make of this sort of thing? What should the average fan make of it?
Well, the average fan should see it as an outlier with what happened here, I think. And now, you should not see gambling on college campuses and students and athletes and people like that being involved in those kind of things. And I've done games in college and used the restroom at halftime. A couple of times pregame, right, I've done this, but used the restroom at halftime, and it's public restroom, right, because you don't have you're doing the game, you don't have a room for that type of stuff. I'm not Dick Vitale with the green room, so you just go to the restroom. And it is amazing the conversations people are having about the prop bets. And it was just like, it was like I'm listening, right? Like you're in line and I'm listening like, my God. I mean, it's unbelievable what people can bet on, and it's unbelievable what they do bet on. So anybody that thinks that players aren't being talked to, asked about things, it's like injuries in the NBA, right? Like so many people know who's not playing that night, the day of, maybe the night before. There's so many people that have that information that it's crazy, right? So to think that people aren't going to get that somewhere that have motives to make money off it is different too. But I think this, where you had some people that, and I'm sure they're not alone, and there's probably more that are out there. But again, I don't think I'd be shocked if it was big. I wouldn't say it's not happening, but I'd be shocked if it was big. I just think what you had is people that have figured out, okay, hey, you're not making very much in NIL.
Right.
Your school doesn't pay you as much. They're paying this guy this, not you. They played on the emotions and the jealousies or the angers that can come into this. And people saw easy money. And I think in a lot of cases, I've read enough gambling books and things like that to say that when people get hooked up into these things, they believe it's going to be very, very harmless for them because all they've got to do is a couple things. They don't have to lose. They just got to do a couple things. I've watched some of those videos today that they've put out. It's unbelievable how bad some of the basketball was, right? Like if I was sitting there watching those games, I go, my God, like I'd be ripping that if I was in broadcasting. And if I was coaching, you'd have to say, this guy has got no mind for this game. We'll try again tomorrow. He's got to come out of the game. I mean, he's not here tonight.
Yep.
And so you see that, and it's like it's nuts. And what it does is it just puts more there's going to be more paranoia. There's going to be more conspiracy theories. And I don't think it's really like that. You know, I really don't. The more I work with younger players in like NBA Top 100 camp or John Lucas's camps, you really see that a lot of the players and the parents, they don't know that they don't know, but they truly do want to know. And unfortunately, too many times, the people that don't know that they don't know, they find somebody that acts like they know,
yes,
and it sounds good. And that's how recruiting gets this way. That's how kids make mistakes with the NIL. That's how kids go to the wrong place. They get the short-term good money, but they have really no chance at the future money. You know, those are the things that are so hard to watch. But this is all microcosm of society, and it's not going to change, and there could be another one. But you can't overreact if you are college sports. Now, you can overreact if you're the government right now, and you can overreact if you're federal agents because it's, you know, it's not overreacting. I mean, crimes were committed. But you can't, we can't be having dissertations from collegiate leaders and NCAA leaders about gambling and all these different things, okay, when there's so much money being made for everybody, you know, being with the sites. I mean, it's just what it is. You just got to put up every checkpoint you can. You got to make it clear what happens if you get caught. And you have to dive into see, okay, how isolated was this? How many other people knew? And you have to go from there. And then you have to move on because it's just the gambling is such a huge part of life that it's not going to change. It's only going to increase.
Yeah, we're not going back on that, right? That's
no, and we're not going back on any of it. We're not going back on the money either. I mean, it's the NIL money. It's just what's comical more than anything is anytime somebody comes out and tries to say there's a cap or you're only going to get this much money from, you know, the revenue stream. There's so many different ways that the money's being created and nobody's listening to that. So I said this on a podcast last week. If somebody knew, if everybody wants a basketball commissioner and a football commissioner, right, we'd already have them. We'd already know who that person is. And that person would make it clear they want to be that. And it would be the person that would truly understand how to go get the best lawyers in the country to figure out, okay, how can the other best lawyers in the country beat us? And how do we put ourselves in a position where we're not going to have that? But they're not going to do that. Yeah. They're not going to do that. And it's just, it is what it is. So people just got to enjoy it. Like you look at Minnesota, man, that, like Justin said, the barn is rocking. Man, just enjoy it, right? Enjoy it and know that people are pouring their hearts into it and keep figuring out why you went to basketball games in the first place.
Yeah, the early signals are certainly encouraging with Nico, that's for sure. The Wolves are on a nice run, and, you know, we're learning, once again, we're reminded constantly about the length of a season and how a team, you know, can go from that Atlanta disaster to you know what the Wolves have done lately, most recently without their best offensive and defensive players in Milwaukee. It is kind of, you know, I think it's hard for the casual fan to figure, well, how in the hell is that possible? But we see these things happen. I'm more interested in your mind about whether you see a common thread to this recent surge. Is it sustainable? What stands out to you about what they're doing that can be sustained?
Well, when the ball is moving at a good rate, and I say this on these broadcasts, and it's important, especially early in the games. It may sound simple, but it's not. Not always how much somebody's shooting it earlier. It's how many people are touching that ball and feeling a part of the game. And I think when they get reversals, when they get it into the paint and make some plays, and they get good looks, and the ball is not sticking somewhere, and jab fake, shoot it. You know, that's when, because that's a team of a lot of guys that want to score, that think they can score, and they can score. But the best things happen when that ball is moving. There's an energy on offense, and it carries over to the defensive end, and then their length, then their shot blocking, then their defensive rebounding, then their connectivity defensively can then turn into more fast break baskets. But too many times, the Wolves are no different than almost anybody else. I mean, look how hot the Spurs were.
Yep.
And the Spurs have not played very well. Really, the other day, if the Spurs played right in the third quarter, that, with the way the Timberwolves were playing, that should have been a 30-point game, okay, by the end of the third quarter. The San Antonio Spurs never put the foot down and played, in my opinion, the third quarter ridiculously, and it allowed Minnesota to keep going and Dante DiVincenzo to make a couple plays, and all of a sudden, you know, it wasn't like, I mean, 14 points is really nothing in an NBA game, but it should have never been that if San Antonio was really locked in. They weren't. And I think we saw that with Oklahoma City the other night. And they're a really good team. I mean, everybody goes through something. But for the Timberwolves, that ball has got to move. It's got to move early. People have got to be involved and engaged. And then they play much better connection defense. Because they have enough individual defenders. I mean, like you look at the Lakers, they don't have very many individual defenders.
Definitely not.
And their team defense, because I think their concepts and whatever time they're spending in practice, okay, and walkthroughs, it doesn't seem like it's very urgent to me because a lot of the errors that they're making are fundamental errors. So it's not just that they don't have individual defenders, there's the technique errors that go with it. Well, when you watch the Timberwolves, they got some really good individual defenders. Really good. And so when you have individual defenders combined into a connected team defense, now that's where that team can be really, really good and get on good runs. And I think that's important. I think it's the mindset. The one thing about Anthony is knowing him the way I do, most of the time he's talking after those games. He's telling you what he thinks. He's telling you the truth, like the game plan stuff.
Yes.
That's for real. And I think since Atlanta, that was such a poor effort. It was such an embarrassing effort. It was one of those moments that everybody definitely had to look in the mirror because you knew everybody else was looking in the mirror. And I think the best thing, and we're going to look back at it, the best thing that happened to that team is they had to go to Miami for a couple of days. And I really do, because I don't think it was easy once they got to Miami. I don't think they like flushed it, on the plane ride from Atlanta to Miami. I think it carried over. And I don't know all the details, but I know a little bit enough to know, give Chris Finch and that staff credit for addressing things, but give the players and Anthony and guys like that credit for accepting things. And a lot of times it's really, really hard. You can never absorb something unless you accept something. And a lot of times to get somebody to accept it, you got to pierce them, right? Like it's coaching. You got to, you can't sugarcoat it. And whatever happened in Miami was good. And I don't think it was the Miami game that was such a stronghold. I think the fact they got on that plane and went to Washington and played the way they did that night on a team that had just gone into Milwaukee earlier in the week and beat them, they made that team look like they were tanking, which is what they're doing, right? And they didn't let them play around. Washington went into Milwaukee earlier in the week and beat them with 1 second to go, and it should have never been that. But that was the game to me. Miami started it, and Washington kind of said, okay, these guys are better. And then they came home and they've been playing pretty solid. The first three quarters of San Antonio, not so much.
You're right.
But then they turned it on. And so I think they're going to get better and better. I think they got way more upside than a lot of teams in the NBA. And they don't have to be maybe as deep or as talented. They have enough guys that when they break down and they put possession by possession together on both ends, they're going to be very, very hard to deal with.
Nobody that we talk to knows Anthony Edwards as well as you have. You go way back with him, and you, I think, understand him more than most. And a texter kind of anticipated my next question. I'll ask you what he asked because I intended to anyway. How would you have handled Anthony walking out, leaving the bench with what? I think half of the fourth quarter yet to go in Atlanta.
Well, I know I talked to him personally after that, and I don't want to share that, but I would say this. I would have known where that was coming from at that point, because he's never done that, right? So, like, and I wasn't there, and I haven't even asked him this, but he was home, okay? And home is still a big deal to him because he doesn't get home much. And I certainly can get home in the off season, but as you know, he's not spending nearly as much time in Atlanta as he used to, and because he's training at a full rate. Now, obviously, he's got other things like USA basketball and things like that, but this dude is serious. He wasn't running the stadium stairs in downtown Atlanta. He was running the stadium stairs in downtown Minnesota, when he was getting in shape. So I think there was some of that. I don't know the particulars. So I don't want to speak on behalf of the coach, but knowing him the way that I know him, I'd have gone back there and got him myself. Now, that's me as a college coach, okay?
Right.
Not as in an NBA coach, that's a different situation. Sure. But I also think that I don't know, and I say this because I don't know, did somebody go back there and try to get him to come back? I don't know that, but I would have, however it was handled from then to Miami game, okay, whatever it was, he responded. Whether it was positive or whether it was negative, and I have a little idea, but I would just say this. He responded. And that to me is important because he's very, very smart. He's very, very prideful. He's way, and part of his intelligence is how introspective he can be when he wants to be. And I think the fact that he has played the way that he has, he's not playing that way because he felt bad. He's playing that way because he doesn't want to feel like that.
Yep.
Right? And he doesn't want his teammates to feel like that. And I think he's had a big hand in why they're playing so much better.
It's, it was weird because when it happened, I almost felt like it didn't get the attention nationally I expected because it's pretty unusual. You're talking about your main guy, and I know he's still young, but it's his team, and everybody already knows that. And I'm thinking, I can't remember very many stars who did that. Now, who was it we had on said, well, what you need to know is, it was Mike Conley. We had Mike on pretty much once a month, and Mike said, well, the dirty little secret is that there are times during games where guys just do kind of disappear, and they go into, and sometimes they might be doing something else. They might be working on whatever it is. And so it's not totally unusual, but I'm thinking, this to me, when it's halfway through the quarter and the team's getting humiliated, I don't think it's a good look for a star player. Now, as you say, maybe they one way or another, perhaps they've dealt with it and it's unlikely to happen again. And he has, you can tell me, I don't think there's any track record from him of doing something like that, but that's what made it stand out to me.
I think, like I said, it was an unfortunate moment all the way across the board. And it's like I said, when you're in a situation like that doesn't just happen like, oh man, where'd he go? Right? Like there's things that lead up into the game that are from that, right? Especially, and he was back home. And like I said, he's got a lot of pride, but I think maybe being young takes him back there, but maybe the maturity of what he's gone through and what he's building helped him respond the way that he did, if that makes sense.
True.
Because again, he had his reasons. I'm not saying they're right at all. I mean, when you have players, you have to look across you have to look across the table from them. And when you have, in this day and age of college basketball and in the NBA and pro sports, but especially in the NBA, you got to be able to look across the table at them, okay, and not at everybody else that's around them. Sometimes you have to look like, okay, what is most important to this person?
Yep.
And I've always tried to get my players in in the NBA to understand this too. Like, you've got to be a participant in communication with your coach, okay, with your teammates. And if my wife would have ever let me write a book, which she won't, there'd be some incredible stories in there of guys, not only in college, but when they went on to the NBA, and conversations and things that happened.
Sure.
But again, I would never share those anyways, because those are private things. And what happens is, the better you get, okay, the more responsibility you have for communication all the way across. And I think there's moments, you call them a watershed moment, you can call them a breakthrough moment, you call them whatever you want. but there's moments on any team throughout the season that point you upward in a direction, or they point you downward, right? And it's all how you respond to it. And I think in this situation, that was about as good of a response from Atlanta, because nobody played good in Atlanta at all, right? Including him. He played, he did score some points, but it just wasn't a good day, right? And they responded. And there could be another one of those situations. I'm not saying somebody's going to walk off the bench, but the season is so long, it's so full, there's so much that goes on. It's how quick can you get over mad and frustrated and angry and not let it turn into disdain and disrespect. Because I've said this forever, going back to even my team back in 2003 at Marquette. We had a lot of things that were strengths of that team. The number one strength of that team was forgiveness. Like, they were able to forgive each other.
Good word.
When things went wrong.
Yep.
They were able to get over things quickly. It did not manifest itself and grow and become so big that it went on for weeks or it went on for days. No, it might go on for half a day. It might go on overnight. It might go on into the next day, but it got handled. And those were young college kids. But, like, I swear that's the unspoken thing that most of us never see in teams, because we don't have the background to be able to see what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's
why so much of this reporting on national stories,
you're right,
when guys are doing leaks and they don't even have a clue, what's going on, because people are so good at telling you what they want you to hear, but you're not really seeing what's going on in the inner sanctum. And you know what? Maybe we shouldn't.
Yeah.
Because it is their inner sanctum.
Yeah, and there is a lot of manipulation. There is a lot of manipulation that goes on. You're right. I've blown through another break, but now you've intrigued me. Before we go, you mentioned your wife won't let you write the book. I'm fascinated by that. So I bet you it'd be a hell of a book. So what does she say? No, you'd have to give up too much, and then you might hurt a couple people's feelings. Or what is her veto power about on that book?
Well, it's always been that. It's been going all the way back. We've had people that wanted to do documentaries to chronicle our seasons when we first got to Indiana, because they wanted to see what would happen. We turned down significant money and won. It was significant money at that point, but and early when we got there, because they wanted to chronicle what was going to happen with Indiana. Well, if it made it, hey, great. But if it didn't make it, that was going to sell too, right? So he's just never been about that. I think it's a family thing. Like, she doesn't have any interest in participating in a book about the family. She'll do an interview, but she's not doing much. And I mean, she's very private like that, and she's just never wanted that to be something. So we did one coaching basketball book with my old coach at Elma College, Ralph Pym, back when we were at Marquette. I think that's going to be the extent of the book.
That's it. I love that. I could talk to you all day, man. I appreciate the time as always. We'll definitely try to stay in touch as we get closer and closer to, the playoffs. I mean, it's a ways off yet, but it's coming for sure. Once we get past football.
I think they're going to play for a long time.
Yeah.
I think they'll play for a long time. I just think there's so much room for them to get better. And I think they are getting better. I say this all the time, but it's true. I think Chris is doing a phenomenal job. It really is. And now the more I watch it intently, I've always watched it, but now I'm watching it like clip by clip. I mean, they do a lot of really good things. And I think that West is a lot more open than people think.
Thank you, my friend. We appreciate it as always. We'll be in touch.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom Crean, former college basketball coach, now analyzing everything, pro basketball, college basketball forever, and, of course, is in on the pregame, halftime, and postgame FanDuel shows on a number of Minnesota Timberwolves games. I think next we're Texas two-step, aren't we? Houston, Gunbelt tight, and then San Antonio
And's going to miss another game tomorrow.
Oh, he is going to miss another one.
Out.
Well, we don't need him.
That's true.
We don't need him.
Let Berenger.
Let's just let him
line it up. Berenger guard Durant.
Let him influence the game just with subtle defensive moves and activity. I mean, Ant's nice player. It's okay.
On a good streak.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't. How many points did we score in Milwaukee? Like 180?
It was like 138, 139.
All right, let's try to get caught.
The 2026 Progressive Minneapolis Boat Show sails into the Minneapolis Convention Center January 22nd through the 25th. You can check out a wide selection of boats and boating gear, must-see attractions, and fun for the whole family. Get the full details. Find out how you can win or register for a new 24-foot Deka dock at KFAN.com. Keyword calendar.
greatly enjoyed our discussion on a number of subjects with Tom Crean. Had a good discussion with Glenn Mason, and Mace had a chance to renew acquaintances with our 3:30 guest, former Governor Arnie Carlson. And we've not really had, because we've been so full with guests, had much of a chance to get in the weeds in reacting to what the governor had to say. And here's what fascinates me the most about at least an element of folks, an element of the reaction. This isn't everybody, but a few people. And I would submit it as example triple Z on why we're kind of stuck in the mire and in the muck that we tend to be, the sort of quicksand we live in, politically speaking. Former Governor Carlson suggesting some attempt to communicate directly, maybe even in person, with the White House on the way things are, the madness that is playing out in the streets of Minneapolis and St. Paul right now, as capitulation. And I can tell you a lot of things that I know and a lot of things that I think about the former governor, who you are not obviously obligated to agree with on any particular issue. But if you think he is capitulator a word? Capitulation is a word. Can you be if you capitulate, are you a capitulator?
Probably.
If that's a word, if you think there's anything in the governor's DNA that says capitulator, then you've lost yourself in the emotion of the moment. A number of people said, well, how can you negotiate with madness? Answer is you might not be able to. But your cards are limited. He's a strategist. He's a guy who I think, at least in theory, is trying to be pragmatic. He's not saying that means surrender, or that he believes in surrender, or that he doesn't feel, as he told us pretty strongly about the policy, the ICE policy, the president's policy, that regarding ICE that has been implemented here. So you can't have it both ways. If you're applauding his willingness to criticize that, you can't, on the other hand, say, well, God, what a waffler. Well, why don't you just... Because one of the texters said, well, okay, I see. Everybody's supposed to leave the streets. The governor was saying, okay, maybe you do try to create some kind of a quote-unquote, ceasefire
Ceasefire is what he said, yeah.
But that's not capitulating. Because maybe at the end of 3 days of conversation, you throw up your hands, very possibly, maybe even probably, and say, we can't get anywhere. Okay, well, we had to give it a try. His concern, I think he articulated perfectly. Watch last night, if you did watch, as I did, excellent in-the-street reporting on Fox 9 trying to cover this story and covering it about as well under those circumstances as you can. And what struck me, I'm guessing struck most people. Look how close the two sides, the ICE folks with the heavy artillery and the protesters are. My God, you're holding your breath, waiting for something to go amiss that escalates it further. He's watching that too. And he's saying, well, we all agree that this can't stand, but the question is strategically. There's too many people out there who believe that any kind of strategizing of this sort is a form of capitulation or surrender. And I think part of Arnie's point is, what's this getting you right now? Right? You could say the vigilance is important. We've got our phone cameras. We're looking. We're watching. But does anybody believe, including the mayors of the two cities, believe that this status quo is sustainable? You might be kidding yourself thinking that you could have any meaningful negotiation. But what are you losing if you do? Isn't that basically what he said? I don't know why. I do know why, because I get these texts every day about how people interpret whatever position you take as some sign of either, as I said, capitulation or surrender, because I'm not sure those folks live in the real world. And you can grab onto that if you'd like, but then you say, well, at the end of the night, where are we that's any better than we were the night before? Correct? And that's sort of where we are with this sort of thing. I mean, the viral video is still getting out, needs to get out, on a number of encounters that make no sense, that are well over the line. There is no reason to believe that these folks think there's any check or balance on their behavior, because there hasn't been. They've got the Vice President of the United States basically saying you got unlimited immunity.
Absolute. Do whatever you want.
Exactly. Does that mean that, as the chief, the Minneapolis police chief said yesterday, you should... Well, actually, this wasn't the police chief. This was one of the local heads of the NAACP basically saying, if you are being violent, if you are spitting at officers, we ain't winning. It isn't going to get us anywhere that's particularly successful, no matter what level of rage you might want to register or you might want to have. So, you may think the governor's naive. I don't think he is. I think he knows there's a very good chance that some kind of negotiation isn't going to go anywhere. Because we know really the number one reason that the governor, I should say the president's taking the approach here, it's a state that he doesn't like. It's just factual. It's just true. He bears grudges. He's a grievance guy. I'm going to get even with you.
He brought it up with the Florida Panthers behind him today at the White House.
Did he really?
Minneapolis, and what's going on.
There you go.
We need to pause, by the way.
Yeah, we are behind. So we'll do that, but I want to at least get to that, because I think, I don't agree with him on everything at all, but I think to dismiss what he's saying is, what are you going to surrender? Arnie Carlson, he's not a surrender Dorothy guy at all. I think he's made that very clear over the decade. Interesting insight into the Harbaugh family, the inner workings, and you could tell. I guess we should remind folks that Tom Crean's father-in-law, Jack Harbaugh, who Glenn Mason once slept with. Now, I probably should clarify that a little bit. It doesn't sound... Yeah. No, the story's been told many times by Mace that is he a recruiter at that point? I thought he was a recruiter at Ohio State.
He's basically a young assistant coach. Yeah.
And he ends up...
with no budget for recruiting.
With no budget, so he ends up, Harbaugh says, hey, I got a room, you just stay in my room, and it turned out it was only one bed.
Yeah.
So a guy he just met like 3 hours ago.
That morning at a high school.
That's the backdrop. So John Harbaugh then is Tom Crean's brother-in-law. Jim Harbaugh is Tom Crean's brother-in-law. He's married to a Harbaugh. And you could tell he has a lot more he wants to say about the way it ended for Jack in Baltimore.
For John.
I should say for John. I know a lot of people say, well, if I'm putting a pecking order of people I'm feeling sorry for, not sure John Harbaugh's at the top of the list.
Yeah.
Look at all the money he's getting now. But it's family, so you're going to have that reaction. And that still doesn't mean he was necessarily treated well with the way he ended up getting dismissed after a great run. But it was, he gave us, I think, more than he intended.
Totally.
But you could tell there was a lot more on the platter he wanted to get to if he could, but he's kind of trying to give John a chance to speak up when he wants to.
Taking the high road. Yeah, taking the high road. And that's what family's supposed to do, right?
100%.
Family is always going to back their guy.
100%.
I just love that Jack Harbaugh told the Glenn Mason story. Like, are they watching a game?
What are the odds?
Are they watching BTN one day?
Yes.
When Tom's coaching Indiana and they flash to it and it's Jerry DiNardo and Glenn Mason and Jack Harbaugh says, "Oh yeah, I shared a hotel room with that guy in 1972." Like, how does Jack Harbaugh?
Such a good story.
I know why Mace brings up the story.
Yeah, but the idea that Tom brought, as you were basically telling me, hey, don't forget the Harbaugh story. He's bringing it up. Tom Crean is. He's like, because he started to say, well, there's a story, and we're going, what are the odds it's actually the story we're hoping it is?
It's
and
unbelievable.
it was.
It's unbelievable.
It was too good.
How good is it that Mace, he was connected, he had crosstalk with Arnie.
Yes.
And then we could have probably had him come back in, but then he'd still be here.
He'd still be here.
And we wouldn't have gotten to the other good stuff that Tom Crean wanted to talk about, including Anthony Edwards and the gambling story and just everything else because it's so good. Mace was bookended by two guys that had history with him in a way.
That's the great thing
It's the beauty of Mace.
That's the beauty of Mace. It's the beauty about Louis. It's the beauty of many of our guests. That's one of the great things about the some of the guest folks that we've had over the years. It's extremely helpful.
I mean, an hour and a half ago, I would have thought Mace basically shutting down whoever was trying to take him to Sheiks was going to be one of the top four things of the show. Because, Louis announced 2 days ago he did not have the backbone to stand up and say no to going to Sheiks. And Mace said, I'm not doing this. I thought that was a revelation in the show. And now that's like barely in the top 10 moments.
651 guy or gal writes, why is the onus of doing right and de-escalating on protesters and not the ICE agents and the Fed who are occupying our city? I don't believe the governor said the onus was on the protesters. What he's saying is he's real world. He's saying that's what we're dealing with. That's the loose cannon we're forced to deal with right now. So therefore, what you hope to do is, could direct contact have any impact? And I thought it was interesting to hear from him that he believes that the governor himself should be less involved in all of this. And I think he said the 2 U.S. senators, get them more involved, etc. I don't believe he ever said anything like, "Well, by the way, it's all on the protesters." You can still think what you think, that the biggest issue in the metro area is the ICE approach. It's my opinion. You may disagree with that, and you're entitled to disagree with that. But I'm saying you can believe that, which the governor does, clearly, and still think that I'm trying to find a way out of the box, because otherwise it's going to get worse and worse. And he's also reacting as the governor to the threat about the Insurrection Act. And about using that. It goes back centuries. That's rarely been used. But that would open the door to a whole nother level of concern and tragedy, I think, sadly, for the great state of Minnesota. Top of the hour break. We'll get to a couple of other stories and review what you might have missed today on what's been a very fast-moving and yet oddly connected program, as you say, from guest to guest to guest.
KFAN welcomes some great shows to Mystic Lake Amphitheater. John Mellencamp will be there July 14th. Chris Stapleton on July 29th and 30th. And Guns N' Roses will be there August 8th. You can get the complete details on all our upcoming shows on the concert page, KFAN.com, keyword calendar.
My last attempt, and then I'm going to just let it go, and I'll probably just bow out of the Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line for certainly the rest of this program and perhaps maybe the next two, Friday and Monday as well. We'll see.
Good luck.
But and you can try to hold me to that. Whether I'll hold it myself to that is another issue.
Maybe we'll add another layer of security so you just get too frustrated.
Maybe that's what I need.
We'll just make exactly like a dummy password thing that you can't get into.
We've got, and this is deliberate, very deliberate on the part of the Sharks. There's no question about that. The righties. Dan, the biggest story is ICE. What about all the fraud that our Minnesota government is involved in and let run? I think that is more important than ICE. They're both incredibly important stories, but they're separate. in your political world, there's been an effort to manipulate one to make it a part of the other when it has, let's be clear about it. The ICE effort in terms of who is being detained and who is being arrested has literally nothing to do with the land of 10,000 fraud cases. Zero. Doesn't mean it's not a legitimate story. Where that texter is misquoting me is, I said regarding the standoff between the protesters and ICE, in my opinion, and I said freely, you can disagree, ICE is the bigger issue. They have created the conditions that have led to a lot of these disruptions. That's my opinion. You do not have to agree with it. I'm not comparing it to the fraud case. We've covered the fraud case about as extensively as we've covered any A-section story probably in the last year or two. And I don't apologize for any of that. I think it is that important. But when people that you're listening to tell you, well, the Dems wouldn't do anything about fraud, so the president had to send in all of these ICE folks to take care of the fraudsters. They're not looking for people involved in any of these fraud cases, many of whom, as I said, have been successfully prosecuted by a prosecutor who now we're finding out got fired. Do you remember how the story changed?
Yeah.
First it was they resigned in protest, including our guy, Joe Thompson. Then it was made-up story. Several of them were going to leave, and so this has nothing to do with any attempted protest. And then now it's, we fired Joe Thompson. We actively dismissed Joe. So pick a story, I would say, first of all, in terms of what it was, in terms of your willingness to try to dismiss this as being important or crucial or not. But beyond that, that's the individual, along with Andy Luger, who successfully prosecuted the individuals responsible. They're on their way to prison, depending on where their case is. That has nothing to do with the arrests that are going on now. Even I think, well, I don't know if you'd ever admit this, but what do we hear from the administration? We're going off after all the illegals that were brought in here. They're claiming many of them criminals, even though the sweeps are wider than that. So you can conflate, if you'd like, if it makes you feel better. But we're getting rid of all the people who did the fraud. Well, that was being done effectively, legally, by a really good prosecutor who now has been thrown out on his ass. So the guy you were championing, who was getting that done, the one guy who was actually doing something about that issue, has been tossed to the street, according to that latest story that I think broke earlier today. I'll leave it pretty much at that. We have no toy. Do we have any toy department stuff tonight? Oh, we got the Wild.
The Wild, yeah.
The Wild Winnipeg tonight. When does Guerin leave for Cortina in Italy? Do we know?
I don't know.
I'm going to have to text him because I think I want to try to create some kind of arrangement where he doesn't go dark on us once he gets over there. Now, I admit he might have a thing or two to do.
But you know what?
He's running. It's his team.
Well, but his job's over.
It should be.
The way he says it. I heard him on Beyond the Pond, and I've heard the Bill.
Is that what he said?
Well, I've heard the Bill Guerin Beyond the Pond interview now replayed on Wild broadcast more than I've heard Sarah Spain on Best of for Barrero.
Correct.
The way he says it is, we picked the team, and now it's the coach's job to go. So he should just be enjoying life.
So you think he should just be relaxing?
Well, I don't think relax is the right word, but I don't think he's going to be sitting in meetings, doing line charts. I wonder if Fallen has heard the cheap shot about how many times he's replayed the Guerin interview. I'm hoping to get a text. He usually doesn't miss it. I'm sure he's listening right now in his lair because he's back at Grand Casino Arena.
We got a great compliment earlier, basically to you, is basically saying, close circuit to Guardsy, this is a best of show. This whole show could be it's been great. It's a way, because we knew who we were going to have, but you never know how they're going to end up connecting in a way that we might not have easily predicted on any given day, correct? That's the beauty of it.
I know, but will it hold up on Memorial Day? I think that's the next best of day we have. That's the problem.
Is it that far off?
I don't know when our next best of would be.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a ways off. Yeah, it could be moldy by then, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially the Governor Carlson one.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it's moldy by then.
Yeah, hopefully we're not playing that on Memorial Day.
If we're playing that as if it's still relevant on Memorial Day, we got a problem.
Did you catch the one little thing Tom Crean said on the way out?
No.
Where he said, I think the Wolves are going to play for a long time.
Yeah, yes.
But did you hear the last part, which I thought was interesting? He thinks the West is a lot more wide open.
I did. I thought that was intriguing, but at that point, if I allow another digression,
we'd still be talking about Shea.
We'd still be talking.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was interesting. And that's something to follow up with him next time we chat with him about who's he, because that would seem to indicate he thinks a couple of the teams that are highly regarded maybe aren't as good as advertised. Houston might be one of them.
Yeah.
Houston's been kind of weird. Now, again, they lost their point guard early to injury, and I don't know if that's still holding them back a little bit. I still believe that even with the recent success, I still think Conley's going to be sniffing around for an added piece. And it might not be a starting point guard. I grant that. But I think he's still looking for a rotation piece that can, well, in best case scenario, is a two-way player. But at least somebody who can score a little bit off the bench. Because who's our bench scorer now other than Nas? With the good nickname?
Our bench, Bones?
Bones.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bones Highland, correct?
Yep.
Bones is maybe he's going to be the guy the rest of the way. By the way, you know what else you missed? I forgot. Speaking of nicknames, did you hear about the Laval revelation?
Yes, on Sunday.
About his nickname?
I did.
Oh, you did hear that?
I did. Scooter.
Yeah, Scooter.
Scooter. I was listening to sermons that day.
Claims he's never talked about that before. So now, from this point forward, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't Neal. Rip off the trip off the tongue as easily, but it's Scooter E. Neal. It doesn't work the same way, does it?
No, we can just call him Scooter. Though.
Just call Scooter.
I just like how he's 60 years old and he's throwing back to when he was 7.
That was outstanding
because his dad, of course, makes sense, was Lavelle E. Neal Jr. Or the second, so he had to be Scooter in the neighborhood.
No question, Dan.
Show Wrap is presented by American Pressure, commercial-grade pressure washer since 1975.
It's the bumper-to-bumper Show Wrap.
This goes to show you that no matter how successful you are as an organization, eventually the jackals will come for you. Latest example, I don't know if you saw the story that Jonathan Kuminga, Golden State Warriors.
Yes.
Has demanded a trade. He's been in battles forever about playing time, and then he was the good soldier, and then Kerr said we got to find a way to use him, and I guess they're not using him now. So this is, I don't even know who the what outlet this is, but according to The Athletic, Steve Kerr and others in the Warriors organization wanted to draft Franz Wagner over Jonathan Kuminga. Could be true. But it could be, like I said, the jackals are circling, right? And it's convenient now, isn't it? Because the Kuminga thing has been something of a disaster. But on the other hand, you could say, in a lot of other ways, ever since I can't remember the name of the chief brain wizard who ended up on ABC and ESPN broadcast.
Bob Myers.
Ever since he left, I don't think things have been quite as good in Golden State either. So I don't know who to blame. But sooner or later, you'll get blamed for something that you may or may not have had anything to do with, even if it is and now somewhat historic franchise like the Golden State Warriors have become on the basis of their success over the course of the last 10-plus years. Want to thank an outstanding bevy.
That was our pick, too, right?
Was it?
I'm looking it up. That must have been from the D'Lo trade?
I don't even... Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it says pick 7, Jonathan Kuminga, Golden State Warriors from Minnesota. It's our D'Lo revenge.
Yeah, that's what it is, I guess. And then what did we... D'Lo... Is that to get D'Lo?
I think so.
And then did we trade D'Lo away? Why did we trade him?
For Mike Conley and Nickeil Alexander Walker.
Nikhil, that's right. I'm trying to be a pretty good deal. Now Nikhil's not here.
No, but he was helpful.
I want to thank our guest lineup today. Former Governor Arnie Carlson. If you missed it, it'll be podcastable. He joined at 3:30. Glenn Mason in studio. Mace and Arnie kind of renewed acquaintances.
That was cool.
Early in the Mace in Your Face segment. And then Tom Crean joined to talk Harbaugh, the Harbaughs, because he's in the family, and the newest betting scandal. Really, it's not a new scandal, but charges filed in a huge point-shaving scheme, as we discussed at the top of the show. And then eventually even got to some Minnesota Timberwolves talk and his own take on the Anthony Edwards move to leave the court about halfway through the fourth quarter of the game in Atlanta.
As someone who knows a thing or two about tennis, and specifically like women's daytime leagues they have, where people can go different clubs and play, I'm just imagining being across the court from Joni, I think her name is, Joni Harbaugh Crean, just trying to get a workout in while the kids are at school.
Yes.
And having someone attacking the day with enthusiasm unknown to mankind.
Yes.
Joni Harbaugh on the other side, which he said she has taken up tennis and is more competitive than her brothers.
Yeah.
That would not be fun.
No, probably not, but it is instructive.
I wouldn't want to be your partner.
The competitive nature of the entire family.
Yeah.
I guess if you're in a family with Jim and John Harbaugh, you may not have a choice but to be competitive.
With Jack as the father.
With yeah, it all fits together. And that was all part of what we got to with Tom.
And you're married to Tom.
Who's
not a shrinking violet.
I wouldn't call him, lackadaisical at all by any means. He's still going good. Pretty good. Yeah, it was a good. That was between. That started about 5:02 and it went to about 5:40. It went a little bit long, but it was worth every minute of it. Tomorrow's Friday, so we are doing picks. Is that correct?
You and I are for sure. I don't know.
Oh, that's right. I forgot.
The third member of
has made it sound like he's out.
We'll have to figure it out.
Maybe we go like we've been going. We get some guest people in. That worked out really well. Gessling hung around for the pick segment the week before. Gessling is expected to join us at the usual time, 4:30, and then Scooter will join us at 5:30. That, of course, is Lavelle E. Neal III. We found out, though, as a baby, his mom started calling him Scooter because he would scoot to the edges of the crib.
The same spot.
Yeah, it's just too good.
Just Lavelle as a baby.
Scooter. Well, and the story Lavelle told us last week from the cruise.
I know.
About walking in. His brother is already asleep on the bed, and he's got to move him over because the beds are kind of close together on the cruise ship, and then some gas may have been expelled.
He said he had to retreat to the balcony.
Kind of a humble brag, reminding us he had a balcony.
Hey, it's good being
Apparently
Scooter.
it is, but yeah,
it's good being Scooter.
That was in that story you can't expect. That's the beauty of it. Louis telling us about being invited to participate in mud wrestling with some girls at Sheik's
with Mean Gene
Okerlund. That's just not on the bingo card either. That's the beauty of it when it is revealed on our show. Right?
It's been an odd week.
It has been very much an odd week, and then there's a lot of tough stuff too. So we'll continue to try to that balancing act pretty much the rest of the way, tomorrow, at least through tomorrow. Did we do bonus bucks today, and did I forget to give you the chance to?
Well,
yes and yes.
No, yes. It's not all your fault. It's my fault, too. We did it the first time, and then we got talking to Mace, and we got talking to Crean. Happens. I lost myself in Tom Crean's eyes, I'll be honest.
Me too. It's hard not to. We're supposed to get snow overnight, is that correct?
Some rain into snow, and then maybe some flurries tomorrow, yep.
1 to 3 inches, is that what I read?
I can't confirm that, but maybe.
Well, we'll see if it's Snownomi worthy. I'm not exactly sure. But I do know that I'm very much looking forward to the football this weekend. Did you see the Sam Darnold news?
He's questionable.
He's now listed as questionable with some oblique injury?
Yes, I did see that.
I don't even know who their backup quarterback is in Seattle. Do you?
I don't. We'll have to find out, I guess.
That would be a stunning departure.
That would be tough.
I think that's going to be a tough game regardless. 49ers are weird.
Yep.
In that they they're not a great team at this point, but they are a very resourceful team. And they are well coached. And with what they went into Philly to do, and I know the Eagles are a bit damaged, that's still an impressive performance. I mean, we never went into Philly and won like that, did we?
No, not like that. So certainly not after the Minneapolis Miracle.
That's for sure. All right, full show tomorrow, 3 to 6:30.
You got it.
That's the plan.
You got it.
Minnesota Wild hockey tonight. Is that correct?
Right after Fan on Demand.
Right after Fan on Demand on the air. We hope you enjoy the evening, and we'll start it all over again tomorrow at, I said, 3 o'clock. And highly recommend, if you weren't around for parts of the show today, you give it, you check out the podcast, available, of course, via the free iHeartRadio app, as just about everything else is related to the Fan. We'll talk tomorrow.
If you ever go to Houston, got to walk right, got to keep your hands deep in your pocket and your gun belt tight.
Then I sprayed mace in his face.
Thank you for the memories. Thank you for the great time. We love you, Dan.
Twins, thank you for the airtime, and I'll talk to you soon.
I knew just what to say.